Don by himself. Don enlisted in the Navy as a seaman recruit back in 1946, and he was 16 years old. He entered the Navy during his junior year in high school, and the Navy program allowed him to go back to high school and finish his education. Upon graduation from Cal Poly, he took physical and intelligence tests and was admitted to the Naval Pilot Training Program in Pensacola Naval Air Station, where he did his carrier landings, and then on to Hutchinson, Kansas, where he flew multi-engine aircraft. He was then commissioned as an ensign and naval aviator and married his college sweetheart, this lovely Jean, here. Don was then assigned back to the Naval Airship Training Station in Glencoe, Georgia, and upon completion of his basic airship pilot training, he was assigned to Airship Squadron 3 at Lakehurst, New Jersey. Now, to those of you who know anything about light-of-the-air aircraft, you know the history of what happened at Lakehurst when the Hindenburg came in and didn't get back off the ground.
Stayed on the ground.
That's right. He was there as a fixed-wing and airship pilot. He then left active duty and was employed at Cal Poly as the personnel director, and that's where we cut off.
Okay, very good.
But it's with great pleasure that I can introduce my good friend, Commander Don Morris.
Thank you.
Just quick stories about how beloved our airship squadron was there at Lakehurst. I hate to say this, but some of the senior officers would take the airship. They were lieutenants, lieutenant commanders, and they would fly over a nudist colony.
Oh.
Yes. Can you believe that?
I can, because I went through flight training with some poopy baggers that were converting to fixed wing.
Fixed wing?
Yeah.
Oh, what year did you go through?
53.
53? I went through in 52, 53.
And I went to Hutchinson, Kansas.
I'll be damned. I've got to watch my stories. I didn't know that. My witness here. Wow.
In P2Bs.
Yeah.
Flew a multi-engine aircraft.
Yeah. I'll be darned. Well, I think my talk's over. You're going to kill all my stories now. Well, anyway, what happened was these guys, we had a nudist beach. It was about 4 or 5 miles down the coast. It was on the coast, and our usual turned out into the Atlantic, but some of those senior lieutenant commanders and lieutenants would fly down over the nudist beach. And at first, they would wave to us as we went by, and sort of, wave like that at the nudist colony. And so that went fine, and then pretty soon I think they got tired of us flying over them. And some of the men, I think, did this. They had "Go Navy" written in the sand. And so we took that as a compliment, "Go Navy." And then later on, they drew a hand in the sand with one finger pointing out to the ocean. You have a clue as to that finger. They did not like us flying over there. And then later on, when we came down there, they had put in not only "Go Navy," but "Kiss My," and then all of these nudists were leaning over, going like that. So that was, we were beloved. sort of beloved. And then there was a time I was coming in on an airship landing. I wasn't the pilot. I was still an ensign and watching what was going on and figuring it out. And I looked down, and there's a guy down there with a shovel pointing it up at us. And I said, "Captain, there's a guy with a shovel down there and pointing it at, and he's just full power to get out of there." And I said, "What's going on?" He says, "Well, you didn't see it, but when we come into these, there's huge chicken yards, thousands, tens of thousands of chickens, and the landing pattern. And the airship would come in, and one chicken would look up, and he must say, 'My God, it's the biggest chicken hawk in the world, run.'" And they would run, and there would be a flow of white. All the thousands of chickens would run to get away from this monster, and they'd hit the fence down at the other end. And then they'd turn, we'd be on the other side, they'd turn and run back, but there'd be about 30 chickens caught in the fence. And we found out later that the chicken farmers were shooting at our airships. That was not a shovel. They were shooting rifles up, and we had a lot of holes in the bag, and we had a couple of holes in the car itself. So we weren't exactly beloved, but they knew who we were anyway. So, during World War II, there were over 200 airships stationed throughout the world, in Alaska, in South America, all up and down the United States coasts, and in Africa. We had airships all over the world. There was 200, and it was quite a big enterprise at that time. And you can tell by, when you drive up to San Francisco, those monster hangars that are built up there. You know, those were all for our airships. Well, that one was for a rigid, but most of them were for our airships, and we used them for that purpose. There was a story about, we were very proud of this, we thought we really had something. We'd never sank a submarine in the whole history of the airship Navy. And the story goes that the pilot was flying out in the Atlantic, and by God, there was a submarine surfaced on the water, and he thought Congressional Medal of Honor or something. I don't know what he thought, but anyway, he had it full power, and he had we were going to drop bombs on the sub. The sub had surfaced; he couldn't get under. They had run out to unlimber the gun, but it was too late. The airship was over it, and the pilot reached down and pulled the switch to release the bombs from the airship. And the enlisted man had not pulled the toggle. What am I trying to say here? Those cotter pins. Cotter pins.
The safety pin on the bottom.
Yeah, did not pull it. So he's pulling. We fly over. They got the gun unlimbered, shot that airship down, took the crew captive, and they spent the whole war in a German concentration camp. So that was our big opportunity that didn't quite work out. We didn't get a German submarine, to say the least. I went through almost 60 years ago with you, now that I understand what's going on, through Pensy. And we had, at that time when you graduated, you had your choice, and I think you'll agree with this, Marine helicopter, or not your choice, but they could assign you to Marine helicopter, multi-engine, jets, or airships. And they assigned me to airships. So that worked out fine with me. I came home, married my sweetheart, Jane. We've been married for, I always get this mixed up, 56 years. Yeah.
Beat me by 2.
All right. So we got married, and then I went back over there to Lakehurst. It worked out really well. I believe adrenaline surges locks things in your memory, and I think all of you would agree with that. And during flight training, they sent us out to the carrier, the Monterey. I don't know whether that was the one that you were on, but they took us up to the bridge, and we could watch the sort of advanced pilots taking off and landing. It did sort of give us a feel for what was going on. And so I'm up on the bridge watching, and I don't know anything. I'm a NAVCAD, Naval Aviation Cadet. So the planes are taking off and landing, and we're looking down, and this guy is down there, and he's on the catapult, and he's got his engine revved all the way up. And they start the catapult, and he's full power, and it's not moving very fast, and all of a sudden smoke starts coming from under his tires.
He had his brakes on.
He didn't unlock his brakes. And this is an advanced pilot. And he goes off the end of the carrier and drops down, and everybody on the bridge, you know, oh my God,